Hello guys, I'm back with our book continuing. This is our day two. Let's continue to read our book. Now we will be starting this chapter, mm, lesson number five. The rich invest money. First, the introductory line, as usual. Often in the real world, it is not the smart to get ahead, but the bold. Last night, I took a break from writing and watched a TV program, the history of a young man named Alexander Graham Bell. Bell had just attended his telephone and was having growing pains because the demand of his new invention was so strong. Needing a bigger company, he then went to the giant at the time, Western Union, and asked them if they would buy his patent and his tiny company. He wanted 100,000 for the whole package. The president of Western Union scoffed at him and turned him down, saying the price was ridiculous. The rest is history. A multi-billion dollar industry emerged and AT&T was born. The evening news came on right after the story of Alexander Graham Bell. On the news was a story of another downsizing at a global company. The workers were angry and complained that the company ownership was unfair. A terminated manager of about 45 years of age had his wife and two babies at the plant and was begging the guards to let him talk to the owners, who asked if they would reconsider his termination. He had just bought a house and was afraid of losing it. The camera focused in on his pleading for all the world to see. Needless to say, I had my attention. I have been teaching professionally since 1984. It has been a great experience and a rewarding one. It is also a disturbing profession, for I have taught thousands of individuals and I see one thing in common in all of us, myself included. We all have tremendous potential and we all are blessed with gifts. Yet the one thing that holds all of us back is some degree of self-doubt. It is not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence. Some are more affected than others. Once we leave school, most of us know that it is not so much a matter of college degrees or good grades that count. In the real world, outside of the academics, something more than just grades is required. I have heard it called many things: guts, chops, chips, balls, arachne, breadbook, cunning, daring, tenacity, and brilliance. This factor, whatever it is labeled, ultimately decide one features much more than school grades do. That is very, very true. Inside each of us is one of these brave, bold, and daring characters. There is also the flip side of that character. People who would get down on their knees and beg if necessary. After a year in Vietnam as a Marine Corps pilot, I got to know both of these characters inside of me intimately, and one is not better than the other. Yet, as a teacher, I recognize that it was exclusive fear and self-doubt that were the greatest the, that dedicators. of personal genius. It broke my heart to see students who know the answers yet lack the courage to act on the answer. Often in the real world, it is not the smart who gets ahead, but the bold. In my personal experience, your financial genius requires both technical knowledge as well as courage. If fear is too strong, the genius is suppressed. In my classes, I strongly urge students to learn to take risks, to be bold, and to let their genius convert that fear into power and brilliance. It works for some, and some just terrifies others. I have come to realize that for most people, when it comes to the subject of money, they would rather play it safe. I have I have had to feel questions such as why take risks? Why should I bother developing my financial IQ? Why should I become financially literate? And I answer just to have more options. There are huge changes up ahead. In the coming years, there will be more people just like the young inventor Alexander Graham Bell. There will be 100 people like Bill Gates and hugely successful companies like Microsoft created every year all over the world. And there also will be many more bankruptcies, layoffs, and downsides. So, why bother developing your financial IQ? No one can answer that but you. Yet, I can tell you why I myself do it. I do it because it is the most exciting time to be alive. I would rather be welcoming change than dreading change. I would rather be excited about making millions than worrying about not getting our raise. I would be rather excited about making millions than worrying about getting a raise. This period we are in now is the most exciting time, unprecedented in our world's history. Generations from now, people will look back at this period of time and at what an exciting era it must have been. It was the death of the old and the birth of the new. It was full of turmoil and it was exciting. So, why bother developing a financial life? Because if you do, you will prosper greatly. And if you don't, this period of time will be a frightening one. It will be a time of watching someone, some people move boldly forward while others clinch to warn of life preserves. Land was when 300 years ago. So the person who owned the land owned the will. Later, wealth more than factories and production, and America rose to dominance. The industrialist owned the will. Today, wealth is an information, and the person who has the most timely information owns the wealth. The problem is that information flies around the world at the speed of light. The new wealth cannot be contained by boundaries and borders as land and batteries go. The changes will be faster and more dramatic. There will be a dramatic increase in the number of new multi-millionaires. There also will be those who are left behind. I find so many people struggling today, often working harder simply because they cling to old ideas. They want things to be the way they were, and they resist change. I know people who are losing their jobs or their houses, and they blame technology or the economy or their boss. Sadly, they fail to realize that they might be a problem. Old ideas are their biggest liability. It was a liability simply because they failed to realize that while that idea or way of doing something was an asset yesterday and yesterday's gone. It is fact like written in this book. This line I really, really love today. That many people left behind because they don't want to change themselves. They want that this era to continue in their last bit, and everything should be like this. It could be possible because old ideas are the biggest liabilities. If we take example of today, we often hear ourselves like in tech areas, we say is that AI will take our is generally taking our jobs and all. But actually, the reality is AI is not taking our jobs. AI is taking the jobs of who? Of those people who were not even a bit changing themselves in terms of technology. As we knew, years pass, decades pass, and even centuries will pass, and the technology will always grow. It is not fixed that in this area, in this era, actually, 2026 era, AI is leading the world. That is true. But there will be a there will also be a time frame will come, definitely will come, where AI will be old, actually. And let's see what happens in that era. The thing is, keep changing yourself. Don't be stuck on a single thing. That is compulsory. With these last words, I will end my today's video. Thanks for listening and watching. If you are watching, I guess this is day second of my personal day. Thank you.